On today's Bash, we have Daniel, DICE's community manager for Battlefield, and Niklas Fegraeus. He was the lead designer on Battlefield Vietnam, and now he's the lead designer on Back to Karkand for Battlefield 3. We'll be talking about him and a bit about both games in today's Bash.
I guess we're late to the party. Where's the LT? Hang it right up here.
A BashandSlash.com presentation.
RPG, Mike 12! Second floor! Stay away from the floor!
Welcome to a special edition of Bash. This is Jock of BashandSlash.com. Today we're going to be talking about the Battlefield franchise, a franchise that was created by the game designers over at EA's Digital Illusions CE in Stockholm, Sweden, better known to us gamers as DICE. And with us here on Bash, we have a few folks from that very studio on the program today. And first up, I'd like to welcome the hardest working community manager in the business. He's known by his gamer tags, Jinto. Let me please welcome Daniel. Daniel.
Thank you.
How's it going, man?
It's good. I came back from San Francisco 3 days ago, and I'm still jet lagged.
And boy, are your arms tired and absolutely jet lagged, but you told me you had some sleep?
Yeah, I've during these past 2 days, during this past day only, I slept 14 hours, which is incredible.
Unfortunately, it was at work, right?
Yeah, I'm at work now, so...
Well, we're going to see if we can give you a bit of a rest, and I'll let your guests there do some talking on today's program because you brought with you the lead designer on the Battlefield Bad Company 2 Vietnam, and now I believe he's also lead designer on the latest addition to the Battlefield universe. He goes by the name Dice Figgy on Twitter. I'm pleased to welcome Niklas Fegraeus. Niklas,
Thank you.
Niklas, did I butcher your last name? I apologize.
No, you did very good.
Okay, that's the last time I'm going to mention it, just in case I screw it up next time. Thank you again for coming on, both you guys. I'm going to start off with Daniel. You just talked about the fact that you came back from San Francisco. You were attending the Game Developers Conference 2011 edition. And for those who don't know, GDC is what, like the world's largest, I guess, game industry conference, that sort of thing?
Yep.
There's no fans, right? There are no fans in this particular conference, just like sort of industry professionals attending the event?
Yeah, more from different companies, different titles and everything, but I wasn't actually at the GDC Summit. I went there for our EA press event where we revealed the first gameplay footage of Battlefield 3 for everyone.
Oh, cool. But there was a large DICE contingent that went to that summit, right?
Oh yeah. A lot of us went there. And Christina Kaufman won an award. That is amazing.
Yeah, awesome. I saw that. That was for women in gaming, I think, and hopefully we'll talk about that at a future Bash. But you had Johan Anderson.
Yeah, Reppy was there.
Kenny Magnuson. There's a whole bunch of folks.
Yeah, there were a lot of Play for Free people there. Ben Cousins, the GM for Easy, Anna, James Salt. A lot of people were there, and it was great. It was really great. At the EA press event, we actually showed Play for Free. We showed Battlefield 3, and everyone was just blown away.
Yeah, it was in awe. It's like you could hear that in all the stolen footage that was shot during the event. But the summit was a chance to for the industry to hear all about DICE's technology, right? I mean, was that really the reason? Yeah. How did your gaming industry colleagues react? You sort of mentioned
they were blown away.
Really?
At the press event, we had a couple of big screens put up, and then we had a floor. We laid down a new floor with subwoofers and rubber, and then putting things on it. And when people stood on it, but when the action starts on the screen, the floor just keeps rumbling under the people, so it gives a whole new dimension of experience to what you actually saw on screen.
It hits you right in the gut, I guess, when you're faced with all those subwoofers right underneath your face.
Yeah. It was amazing. It was like the best movie show ever.
Yeah, it must have been awesome. As I say, we're starting to see a trickle of stuff from that event. You know, like I said, in stolen footage. But so I can just imagine what it was like. We're gonna take advantage of the fact that Niklas is on here. Put the spotlight on him and try to maybe give people who are listening in a little bit of an inside glimpse into some of his into some of the great people that you have over at DICE that provide us with that technology. And so I'm going to start off with Niklas. Maybe if you could tell us a little bit about yourself. I mean, you go back to, 2001? I think you were working in Sega Europe, but you moved over to get onto the Battlefield 2 bandwagon, I think, in 2005. I mean, could you tell me a little bit about how you got from there to here kind of thing? Can you tell me a little bit about your background? How did you get into, becoming a lead designer?
I was studying art, actually, at the university, but I was always an avid gamer. So when you were doing your kind of exam work, the university was in contact with a game developer studio. So I kind of ended up there in 2000. Then I moved on to DICE in 2004 as an animator. But again, my gaming soul was very passionate, and I started looking into design and ultimately ended up doing that full time.
Did you ever worry that, you were going to take a hobby and turn it into work? I mean, or is it...
Well, it kind of is a hobby turned into work, but that's the beauty of it.
That's the good thing, is it? Okay. You were the lead designer on Battlefield Bad Company 2 Vietnam. First of all, let me just ask, what does a lead designer do? What did you do on Vietnam?
I'm coordinating the vision and design work for the product. It's basically deciding what's the game's going to be about, and the core features and the offering as a whole. I have designers working with specific details. You have artists and sound people and coders. And it's more of it's a kind of a spider in the web role.
I have to admit, I'm a huge Vietnam fan, and I do want to say thank you on behalf of all the guys that are playing Vietnam every day, because it's wonderfully put together. You guys have done a remarkable job. A lot of this, I'm going to be saying, gushing like a bit of a fanboy. I have to admit, looking at Vietnam, it seemed to me that it paid homage to a previous game DICE did, a Battlefield game that was originally released back in 2004, namely Battlefield Vietnam, and then I guess it was re-released 2005 as Vietnam Redux. What was the team's philosophy going into this new game? Were you thinking that you wanted to recreate the earlier game, except now put it in a BFBC2, environment, or did you think that you had a different vision for it, or did you want the game to be fundamentally different? I mean, what was your philosophy, going into Battlefield Vietnam when you heard that you were going to do it?
I think a big chunk of the inspiration came from the Frostbite engine. We knew that with that technology we could create a Vietnam experience that was just unprecedented, with all the nice lighting and destruction that we could produce. So it became very inspiring for us to just think about what we could do with it, with the idea. We came up with some really early nice concepts, and we basically thought right away, this is great and we're going to do it.
There are elements of this game that just absolutely totally swallow you into the game. Like, you really do feel like you're there. And one of the nice things that I found about the game was that the balance was a little bit different than BFBC2. BFBC2 being more of a modern combat game. Going back to the sort of 60s with Vietnam, the balance was a little bit different, but the balance was going in the right direction. It just seemed perfect for me. I just, when you see a tank coming at you, you should be scared. I think in Vietnam, I am scared when a tank comes trundling down the road. I wasn't as scared in BFBC2. In just a stock game, the choppers are unbelievably deadly in Vietnam, and I think they should be, because you've got guys pumping out a lot of lead, from a few feet above you. There's really no cover from a chopper. Maybe if you can just comment on what you thought of the game design in terms of balance.
Yeah, that was one of the challenges, definitely. I mean, in Vietnam, if you want to recreate that feeling in that area, there were no flak jackets or any of those modern things that we see in BC2. So the balance overall was going to change, and we iterated a lot on different approaches how to do that.
Did you remove the asymmetric nature of that conflict? Because, I mean, fundamentally, with the American army going up against, the North Vietnamese, it wasn't necessarily a fair fight.
Yeah, there is a small amount of asymmetry if you look at the map design and so on, that tries to replicate a bit of that. But ultimately, it's a game. It needs to be fair, and also it's based on the rules set by BC2. So we try to find the best way to both have a slight feeling of asymmetry and a fair playing field.
Right. I think it works really great because, like you said, it is a game. A few weeks ago, on another episode of Bash, myself and my guest at the time were talking about the feel of BFBC2's Vietnam, and we were talking about how remarkable it was at capturing that era. It really puts you into the rice paddies. It puts you into the 60s in Southeast Asia. You know, everything from the music that you hear in the background to the jungle to the, you know, all these beautifully rendered vintage equipment that you use. I've never been to Vietnam. I don't think you guys have been either. But how the hell did you learn about that era? How did you learn about the geography, the terrain? I mean, I'm just amazed at how beautifully detailed it looks. I mean, what did you guys do to study that period?
Yeah, we studied a lot because the feeling was, we knew that it was very, very important to really sell the feeling of the 60s and the place. It's the inspiration and the research that we did. It comes a lot from, of course, from movies that we've all seen, but a lot of research on the internet and looking at everything from vegetation to architecture and topography and all those things.
I've mentioned this before, and you just did right now, talk about movies. I mean, you know, there are some scenes in the game that evoke in me moments that every person who's seen a Vietnam War movie will remember seeing. I mean, for either it was from like We Were Soldiers, Good Morning Vietnam, Hamburger Hill, Apocalypse Now. You know, I can see these movies in my mind's eye when I play. You obviously were influenced by those movies, I'm assuming.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, most people who play the game, they weren't born when the actual war took place. So the movies is their primary connection to the era. So it's very important to take that into consideration.
It was obviously a conscious decision then to give the game a bit of a retro look by not just monochromatically fading it, but you also put a little bit of noise in the actual render. I mean, you can actually see a little bit of visual kind of noise. It almost looks like it's a bit of a retro movie. Was that controversial?
There's always arguments, of course, and everyone has their idea on how to make it look great, and it's a creative process. We use a whole bunch of small tricks like that in order to make the whole thing come together.
Right.
And I think that was one of the things that it's a detail, but when it's there and you kind of notice it, but then it gives so much.
Yeah, it's that gritty looking environment. It's everything. Like you said, it's the music in the background. The music to me sold me. There's little elements of it all over the map. Whether you're finding the music on the radio when you're in a jeep, going from a base to another base or whatever, or in the tank with the amplifier sending out all the psyops music. I thought that was just hilarious. It was absolutely brilliant. Unfortunately, it's a little bit too loud, and it tells everybody my tank is coming towards you. So I don't appreciate that all the time. But
yeah, it's a pros and cons thing. You feel cool, yeah. But okay, they know where I am.
And we talked about the gritty environment, talked about the music. I even loved the little subtle humor that you got going in the game. The fact that the Vietnamese sniper has only one eye. I thought that was genius. Together it makes the game feel really compelling. Makes you feel like you're in battle. I've told Daniel several times, playing Fubai, you're in a chopper, you're looking out, and you see the rice fields in front of you, and it gives you a sphincter tightening experience because you really feel you're there. It's just done really, really well.
We have a great creative freedom working with DICE. The look of the game is something that I appreciate the artists' hard work because they're awesome.
How big was the team on Vietnam?
It was about 20 people.
20 people, very good. A lot of stuff done with only 20 people, I'll say that.
Well, the team sizes grow and shrink, during the course of a project. So it's not a static number. It's just, I say that's an average.
looking back at that digital expansion, there was a lot of cool things in BFBC2 Vietnam. Like I said, little subtle things. The ambient flights of choppers, the roaring F4s F4 Phantoms that come overhead. The flamethrower, which was kind of newish for BFBC2. The list goes on and on. Was there anything that you could put your finger on that made you really super happy to see in the game? Was there anything that you were really proud of going into that game?
Oh, there were many great things. I think the thing that I'm most proud of would be the whole experience, how it comes together. Because it is built up of all these little details, and you never really know if they're going to work great together or if they're going to go in different directions. But just how everything came together and provides this really authentic feeling representation of the era, I think that's the biggest thing.
Have you had to tweak anything, since that expansion was released? Is there anything that you had to tweak behind the scenes that we might not know about that you had to tweak? Is there any surprises?
No surprises, I don't think. I mean, we have done some small fixes, stuff that needed to be addressed, but no surprises.
Well, as I said, it's been an enjoyable experience for me. I was pleasantly surprised. I was blown away, to be honest with you, when I started playing it. To me, to this day, my jaw still hurts from dropping after I saw Hamburger Hill. It was one of the most amazing maps I've ever seen. It really is very, very impressive, and I'm going to have to get a bigger screen TV because I swear it's just there's just too much stuff going on in the little screen that I have. So I really appreciate it. You guys have done a phenomenal job, and should be congratulated.
Yeah, thank you. It's always warming to hear. It's really nice.
Let me head into Battlefield 3, the latest and greatest incarnation of the Battlefield franchise. I think it's safe to say that EA's march back to online shooter dominance has been primarily due to the amazing success that you guys have had with the Battlefield series and all of its spin-offs. I mean, even Medal of Honor, which is the game that first gave EA the first-person shooter crown, has even been influenced by Battlefield, given that DICE recently made its multiplayer. So the announcement that another installment of the franchise's main IP is big news, not only for DICE or for EA, but also to us, FPS gamers globally. So I guess the first thing off the top of my head, as far as the question is concerned, is, although it was officially announced just a couple of weeks ago, DICE must have had folks working on this game for some time. BF2, after all, came out in 2005. A lot of people are asking, why did it take so long for the next installment to get into production? As I said, we started off in 2005 with BF2, and here we are 2011.
Well, we wanted to show console players, we wanted to show them the Battlefield world as well, with the Bad Company 1 and 2. Bad Company 2 came to PCs, and with the whole Bad Company series came a whole new way of playing Battlefield. You have tactical destruction, you have a different squad system, and we've taken a lot of that experience into our forthcoming projects as well.
You have to let the console guys catch up, I suppose, to where we are today. And now we're all at the same sort of level, I guess. We've all seen Battlefield. Everybody's really stoked to see the next game. And speaking of the next game, we've all seen the trailer to BF3. It's making its way around the internet. I mean, PC Gamer's preview, the magazine, PC Gamer, its preview was gushing. I mean, they said, quote, it's built for the PC to showcase what the PC is capable of, and it's the best looking PC game in the world right now. I mean, with reactions like that, what are the guys at DICE, what are your colleagues saying about that? I mean, what little we've seen, people are just blown away.
We are so proud. We are very, very proud of what we're doing in the studio, and to see all these comments on the internet is just very amazing for us. It keeps us going, and we just love every amount of feedback we're getting on what we've shown so far. And that sends a signal over to us here in the studio, just to keep showing more to people.
Yeah, absolutely. I hope you guys do. I've loved what I've seen. Everything from the lighting to the sound, the way the characters in the game are moving around. Just the physics of it is just mind blowing. To me, the really big news that came with the launch of the game is that BF3 is going to be using the latest edition of the Frostbite engine. And to tell you the truth, I'm actually surprised that you're already at Frostbite 2. Most of the FPS games made by your competitors aren't even at, in my opinion, even at the Frostbite 1 level. Is there any game, and this is a loaded question, is there any game out there that you think could even get close to Frostbite 2's technology? I mean, you guys are on a different planet, aren't you?
Frostbite 2 introduces a whole different way of playing Battlefield that we know it today, and other games might have different features, but our feature and our focus lies on Frostbite 2 and the playability of the future Battlefield game that is Battlefield 3.
That's a very humble way of coming back to my over-the-top question, so I appreciate it.
It's a Swedish way, Bash.
BF3 is a modern shooter. I think that was pretty apparent. It's going to let us fight in places that I think we probably expected, like the Middle East. We've heard that there's going to be places like we're going to fight in Tehran and Suleimania, but there are unexpected places like in Paris and in New York. I always thought that the Battlefield series came into its own when we had like large maps. Will BF3 be more like concentrated on urban combat that we've seen in some of these in the trailer, or is it going to have both? Or can you comment on that? Is it too early to talk about that?
It's actually a bit too early to talk about, but I can mention the 5 key areas that Battlefield 3 is going to innovate in, and that will be animation, with the new ant system, scale, large-scale maps, destruction with Frostbite 2, our award-winning audio team. They're awesome, and with rendering and lighting, that takes it to a much more physical, and it makes the experience a lot more intense when you're on the battlefield.
I've heard a lot about, you talked about Ant, and this is this toolkit, this animation toolkit from EA. And I have to admit, I don't quite understand exactly what Ant is doing for you visually. From what I could see of the trailer, it seemed to me that the soldiers are moving a lot more realistically. I know that Ant came from EA Sports. I know that's where it came from. Is there? I don't know. Maybe we can find out a little bit more.
Yeah. What Ant brings is a very advanced tool set for animation. It has many many nice features, but I think the one thing that really brings itself good visually is the blending. Because usually when you have animations, for example, a guy's running and then he's gonna shoot, you can see kind of a glitch when a character goes from a run cycle into a standing pose when he's shooting, which makes the movement look less fluid and a bit jerky. What Ant does is that it allows for an almost infinite blending possibility where you have every possible stance or cycle of animation being blended smoothly into each other, and this creates a very, very fluid presentation that looks very, very realistic. As you mentioned, it comes from the sports titles where animation is so key to their game, and we just felt that in order to present BF3 with this quality that we are so striving for, we needed that technology, and so we did.
Is that a separate step? Is that a separate process?
It is part of our Frostbite tool set, but Ant is a kind of a shared platform that allows people to put solution into it in a shared way, so that you can utilize each other's work. But it's integrated into our tools.
So it's not that much more time consuming by doing this then.
Well, it's always time consuming, of course, to create the animations themselves. Our animators are working around the clock, but the system is very smooth to work with because of the blending and the plug-in technologies. So it's really a pleasure to have it.
I have something more to say on the feeling of the game.
Sure.
The whole feeling of the game, that is one of our key features for Battlefield 3. That is one of our core pillars when it comes to developing the game. The feeling is exactly what we're trying to get to with the animation system. I mean, we've learned a lot of tricks over from BF2 up until Bad Company 2 over the years, and we're trying to develop the best animation game for any FPS game, but how are we going to do that? You can always go out and say it's going to be the best, but how is it going to be the best? How are you going to innovate? And you've probably seen the gameplay footage. It looks very, very realistic. And one more thing about the whole feeling of the game is that you usually judge a game by how it looks and how it plays and the sound and etc. But how it plays is actually the most important part, and that is the feeling of the game. And for instance, in the character animation tool for BF3, you can actually, when you drag your teammate to safety, you can actually feel the weight and the movement of the player. And when you go to prone, you can feel when you drop to the ground. And the whole feeling of the game is so important for what is to become Battlefield 3.
You know, it's interesting that you talked about prone. It's something that I know that the community wanted to see back in a Battlefield title. Is there anything else that you found that you wanted to incorporate from Battlefield, gamers, players? Is there anything that you can think of that you can say at this moment in time that would make Battlefield pros kind of happy to know that the stuff's back in the game, or that you've incorporated?
Well, we're introducing large-scale maps yet again to the Battlefield series, and that is pretty much what the Battlefield series has been all about. Large-scale maps, open warfare, and the whole subject of prone is why do we want prone? Do we want prone just to satisfy the older Battlefield players, the more hardcore players of Battlefield that usually played the older titles? Or do we want to bring in prone just for the sake of bringing it in? I mean, there's a lot of thought behind that. And by bringing in prone to Battlefield 3, we're opening the game up to a whole new dimension of gameplay, pretty much.
Right.
Figure, what do you say?
Yeah, I mean, prone is part of the core Battlefield series, so it feels natural to have it as a part in BF3 as well.
Yep.
You're talking about the original BF series. Tell me if you guys agree or disagree with these comments, but the original BF was thought of in the community as an FPS game that was a brilliant tactical shooter and also emphasized team play. BF BC2 had a lot of team play, but it tilted a bit to run and gun. Where do you think BF3 will be relative to those two games? Because there's been a lot of talk as to what BF3 will be like. Do you have a sense? Can you tell people roughly what your opinion?
Yeah, we want to make sure that people who like playing as a team, who like forming up as a squad and playing that really tight team game, that they have the opportunity to do that. You want there to be options for players to play as they want, but that nothing should give you a significant advantage over everything else.
Right. Along with the announcement of Battlefield 3, we hear that there's going to be a limited edition of the game. The game will apparently include new content called Back to Karkand. And Back to Karkand is a downloadable content DLC, and it apparently will feature, I've heard, 4 Battlefield 2 maps that have been remade for BF3. And in addition, you're going to have BF2 weapons, vehicles. That's what I keep hearing. For PC players out there, how does one get the limited edition? What is this limited edition? Daniel, do you know?
Yeah, the limited edition for Battlefield 3 comes when you pre-order the game, and it includes 4 older maps from Battlefield 2. It's Gulf of Oman, Sharkey Peninsula, of course Karkand, which the DLC is named after, and the last map is
Wake Island.
Wake Island, yeah. Wake
Yeah.
Island. What can I say? That map has a legacy of its own, separate from Battlefield. It's when you say Wake Island, everyone pretty much knows it's in direct relation to Battlefield.
Right.
Figure, can you tell me us a bit more about the maps?
Well, as you said, it's Strike at Karkand, Sharkey Peninsula, Gulf of Oman, and Wake Island. And the reason why we picked those is twofold, really. First, we want to create a good mix so that you get the big maps and the tighter maps, so you have a solid mix of experiences. And then, of course, it's the sheer popularity of the maps. I mean, I did a little number crunching on the play time on these maps, and together they've been played for over 25,000 years, I think, which is pretty significant. It's like twice the age of civilization.
Yeah, I don't think they had electricity back then.
No.
No.
It's weird how they could still play.
Yeah, pretty awesome. Rubbing the rocks together apparently created spark. You know, and you said the Karkand was huge. Obviously, it's an iconic map, very big map. A lot of the Battlefield players of 25,000 years ago are a bit worried now, though, that they're a little bit worried though that the limited edition, putting it out right away is going to split the community base right away. Because let's face it, all these former BF2 guys, they're going to go right to those maps, aren't they? Are you worried that that we're going to split the community right off the bat?
In terms of splitting, I would say we're facing the same situation as we had when we released Vietnam with Bad Company 2. And if you really are a big fan, if you really want these maps, then go out and pre-order.
Who's making back the Karkand? Is it the Vietnam team?
Yeah, it's the same guys that made Vietnam who's making the Karkand pack.
Wow. Okay, that's good news for me. Anyway, that sounds like it's going to be really good. Another question, just as because we're PC guys here at Bash and Slash, we're really happy to see that the PC platform is being treated with a lot of respect, in BF3, and that to me is another really great bit of news. There's been a lot of really positive news about the PC platform lately. This is just another one. It appears to be the lead platform for the game, not the console. Can you guys tell me why the PC is the lead platform?
I mean, it's about the core audience, really. I mean, PC platform. Battlefield is born on the PC, and we have the biggest loyal following of fans that are PC gamers, and that's the core that we're focusing on with BF3. And of course, it is a multi-platform game, so it's going to be great on all SKUs. But for this title, it's focused mainly on the main SKU is PC.
I imagine with the technology that's going into the game, especially with Frostbite 2, that the PC really shows off that technology as well, I would imagine. I mean, you're going to be pushing these PCs, I think, to their, in the right direction. I think you guys are pushing the technology really hard, I think.
Yeah, I mean, if you have a really high-end gaming rig, you deserve to have a great-looking game.
And I think from what I've seen, this is going to look really nice. Is it too early to talk about dedicated servers, or I mean, are we expecting roughly what we had in BFPC2, just dedicated servers?
I don't think we have announced any of the server stuff.
Okay, that's out. So. Daniel, as I said, I mean, you're one of the hardest working guys, in this business. And
wow, you think so?
Totally. Because I swear to God, I don't think you sleep. I watch your tweets, and you're 24/7, man. And you keep a very, very close watch on what's going on in the community. You interact with the community a tremendous amount. Is there anybody are there people doing really cool stuff in Battlefield right now? I mean, what do you see out there as far as the community? Is there anybody that you'd want to single out, talk about?
Oh yeah, we have some really cool community sites doing cool stuff, and one of them being the Don't Revive Me Bro website that is currently doing a charity drive.
That's a great name, eh? Don't revive me, bro.
That's a cool name. Yeah. At least not in front of a tank.
No.
But they're doing a charity drive for an international rescue committee, and they're asking people to help them donate to restore safety, dignity, and hope, and etc. And I think it's a very good idea. I mean, charity is always good as long as the money goes where it's supposed to go. It's always a good thing. So check out that site, www.don'trevivemebro.com. And then for all you movie makers out there, we have something called hdsht.com /elite, which is it's a competitive video site. You upload your videos, and each new member chosen in April for the HDSHT Elite Division will get a $500 cash bonus. And the Battlefield community has a lot of really cool videos out there, stretching all the way from BF-42 to Bad Company 2. So if you have any cool videos lying around, just upload them and make sure we conquer Headshot community with our Battlefield videos.
Wow, cool. And you're always playing on people's servers? So
I really haven't had that time lately.
Oh, but I
A lot to do, but
I'm sure you're going to be playing because you love to play Battlefield. But if and when you do play, it's important to get to know your Twitter. It's very complicated. It's ZH1NT0 for at twitter.com/Zgento, and you can get straight from the horse's mouth everything that's going on in the Battlefield community. And there's a lot going on. There's a lot of good people in the community. I'll tell you that much. You guys are really kicking it old school. And of course, Niklas, your Twitter, Dice Figgy. That's Dice Figge, right?
Yeah, that's right.
Fantastic. And do you do a lot of the social network stuff? Do you get on a lot?
I'm nowhere close to Daniel's activity, I'm afraid.
You're gonna have to start. We're gonna have to start getting you more prolific. You're gonna have to start tweeting a lot more.
Yeah. I'll try to improve my frequencies.
Awesome. Thank you very much, guys. Fantastic. Thank you very much for taking it away from your family,
Bash.
man.
Thanks a lot.
Thank you. Take care of yourselves, and we're really looking forward to hearing from you guys again, and of course looking forward to the game, which will be probably, let's say, fallish in 2011.
That's right.
Yep.
Fantastic. Thank you very much, guys.
Thanks.
Thanks for having us on.
Yeah.
Brother Bashers, Sister Slashers, thanks for listening to Bash. Come to our portal site, bashandslash.com, for more info on gaming. Join our boards and take part in our community. And remember, please support Bash by checking out our sponsors' links or by donating to Bash today. Thanks.